Welcome to the January 25th, 2018 Trader Vision 2020 workshop. Tonight, the agenda that I had set is that I want to go over what Trader Vision can do for you. Then I'll get into some of the basics that will help you get started, such as going over the general layout and options that are available to the users, setting up accounts, and then we'll talk about what's coming up in terms of other workshops and sessions where you can learn and ask questions. If we want to go someplace else, we can. On this cold January evening, we've got a small enough group that we can handle that and take it wherever you want to go. But let's get started with this agenda and we'll go from there. There's a lot of text on this slide. If the screen updates, wow, I've got a lag. I've got a serious lag. I'm sorry about that. That's an Omnovia thing. I'll try to slow way down so that Omnovia can catch up here. But basically, what can Trader Vision 2020 do for you? Well, as you see on that diagram down here in the lower right, Trader Vision's built on the continuous improvement trading cycle that we have set up for hit and run candlesticks, right way options, and just in general here. And it's based on those steps of setting goals that give you something to manage yourself against, selecting trades that can support those goals, validating the trades are up to snuff with your trading rules, creating a detailed trade plan, managing to that plan, and after the trades are closed, analyzing your performance. And then the cycle repeats. So that image is as if you're looking down on an upward spiraling staircase. That's the intention, is the cycle repeats over and over as you improve your trading. So what does that mean to you? What Trader Vision can do is help you develop and use a very standard and improving trading process. It will improve the quality of trades you take because you'll eliminate ones that won't meet your goals and that are not up to your trading rules. Eliminate those oddballs where you end up thinking, why did I take that trade? It was a no-win situation to start with. Why did I do that? It'll help you identify and eliminate your trading problems, such as chasing, such as being scared out too early, help you learn to plan your trade and trade your plans. And in that way, it'll help you control your emotions so you have much less fear, greed, ego, or driving your trades, and more rational thought. Of course, it'll track your performance, and in the process of doing this, it eliminates or automates a whole bunch of paperwork that otherwise a good trader would have to have. In the past, I've had mountains of records. I've got a stack about 6 foot tall of paper records that I used for managing trades over the years. And in addition to that, I've got a bunch of spreadsheets. And it was just extremely difficult and time consuming to go back and analyze your performance and figure out what you did well, what you didn't do well, what mistakes you made, and improve. And with Trader Vision, that's all automated. That's all, the records are kept for you, and the analysis can be done with a click of a button. So that's the whole purpose behind Trader Vision. And I stuck this slide in there today because I was actually asked earlier today, what is Trader Vision? What can it do? And so that's the purpose. That's the idea behind Trader Vision, is to be sort of an end-to-end trader support system to help you select, validate, plan, manage, and analyze trades. So that's what Trader Vision is all about. And what it really comes down to is Trader Vision is going to help you do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. And that's the goal of every good and improving trader. So with that said, let's get into what it looks like, what kind of options you have, and uh, we'll go through that. This may be a little bit jerky here as I switch back and forth between slides and screenshots, but just bear with me. We're going to cover the windows and widgets, we're going to cover the main menu, and then setting up preferences. So let me fire up Trader Vision. Let me set this back to the way it would look when you first open it up. I'm not sure which widget you will be on when you first install Trader Vision and open it up, but essentially you will have all of the widgets open and you will be in the main menu. The organization of the layout of Trader Vision is very modular and very much something that can be user dependent. You can set this up and organize it just a million different ways. Every one of the widgets can be reorganized to a different part of the screen, so it could be in the top of the screen, it could be on the right side, on the left side, and the bottom. You could have two of them side by side, you could have four of them stacked up. You could have the all tabbed at the top and one open at the bottom, or vice versa, one large one at the top and the bottom half filled up with the rest of the tabs. The other thing that you can do is using the view menu, you can open up a new window, which we call extended view. And in fact, you can open up as many of these as you want. And then you can drag a widget from the main menu into the extended view and then pull that off to another monitor or off to a different part of the screen, whatever you want to do in that sense. I'm not going to do that tonight because we've got a little bug that I need to work with that makes it a little unstable when I move the widgets around like that. So that's what the basic look and feel is. You can have a main window, or you can have multiple windows, and you can have the widgets organized in just a bunch of different ways within any window. The organization of the program for now, the main sections of the program are each called widgets. And each of these widgets, as I said, are independent. When you click on one of these, it will open it up in the main window, and then of course you can drag it to a different location or drag it to a different window. The widgets that we have here are the dashboard. Well, let's just go through them this way. We have the dashboard, which gives you, as it implies, a quick snapshot of what's going on for any of your accounts. So you would see the account summary, a graph of the account, a graph of all of your open trades, and then a list of all of your open trades. By double clicking on any of these trades or highlighting and clicking open, you would open that trade up. You would get a snapshot of your most recent performance. It defaults to 30 days, but you could set that to any value you want. You want to look at the last 6 months, you want to look at the last year, whatever gives you a quick snapshot of how you're doing, that would give you that. And in fact, somebody had requested the ability to do 1 day, and sure, you can do that, your P&L for the day, by looking at changing that number to 1 day. Now, with this being a brand new install, I don't have any trades here to demonstrate that with, but I'm afraid that's the best I can do for you, and you get the idea. The next widget is your goals, and you see it opened up another set of goals. Now, I earlier today had planned a set of goals for somebody, so there's something in here. Normally this would come up as a unplanned set of goals, and you would set it up. You can plan on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. And what you do here is, I don't want to really go into it in depth tonight, but this is how you plan out long-term goals that then break down into per trade goals and give you solid numbers against which you can manage your trades. So you know if your plan will let you reach your goal if you have an average win size of 350 and an average loss size of 150, then you want to keep each trade that you have, ideally, look for an average win of more than $350. Look for an average loss to keep it below 150 as your risk amount. Let's just close that. Let's see. Trade log is the main part of the application. This is a log of all your trades, and then each of these trades can be opened up so that you see the details of it and can plan a trade and execute a trade. I'll go through it here in sections. So we'll start in the upper left-hand corner. Well, of course, first you see that you have the ticker and the status. This is a planned trade. It has not been opened yet. You pick your account. I happen to have a few accounts in this setup, so you can choose which account this trade's in. You put in the ticker and it will fill in the price, pull up the information about the trade. In this case, and we'll get to this later, I've chosen that I want to manage my risk based on the dollar loss to stop, and so the default is $500 for this account, but if I want to change that to $250 is the most I want to risk to my stop, then you would choose that, and that will control how the application recommends the number of shares to buy. Your next earnings date you can record now. In the very near future, we will do an automatic lookup and fill that in for you. Right now we're vetting some data sources because they are different. And you can specify triggers, the entry triggers to be above a certain price, below a certain price, or between two prices. This is the main market conditions section that tells you about the trade. As a quick look, you can see that I've got three bullish indications in the market conditions at the moment, and two bearish market conditions. That would tell me I need to think twice about this. If we go through each of these, then it tells me that the market bias, so the long-term trend of the market, is up. It tells me that the short-term trend of the market is up. Those are both things in favor of taking this trade. It tells me that this particular ticker has been trending up in the long term, but in the short term it's been pulling back. It's trending down. It also tells me that the 8 EMA is below the 34 EMA, and that may be something that I want to look at. These will all be configurable for the user soon. It tells me that based on my liquidity requirements, which is the price times the 63-day moving average of volume, it tells me that this thing only trades $600,000 worth of stock a day, and I'm probably going to want to pass on that. Gives you a look at the last 5 or 6 candles, and it says there's no candle signals at the moment. I might call this a spinning top, and you'll be able to record that that was a spinning top. That is not specified, or that is not in place at the moment, but it will be very soon. And of course, you can then highlight any of these candles and see the open, high, low, and close for any of those days. And then, of course, if there was a pattern, it would record that as well. It does give you a general look at it, and it tells you, in this case, this is a newer symbol, and there's not enough data to actually come up with patterns. And I don't even know how I came up with OVID. I think somebody asked that in one of the webinars I did. Maybe it's a recent issue or something. Because I happen to have a trade goal already set for this account, it tells me that there's my goal. I want to make 350 bucks on this trade at a minimum. That's what I need to make in order to keep myself on track towards making my long-term goals. It tells me the current price of the stock. After I enter a trade, it will tell me the low price and the high price during the trade. It tells me that based on my commission costs, based on the trade that I've set up, what the plan is and what the actual trade is, open trade, in terms of what the price is that will allow me to break even, basically to offset my commissions. It will recommend the shares to buy, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. It'll talk about what the cost is to enter for the stock and commissions. It will give you what percent of your accounts in this trade, uh, what would happen if you were stopped out based on the stop that you've put into the trade, both in the plan and the actual, what your loss would be. And again, you want to keep these losses below, smaller than the goal parameters that you set. So if I recall, that was $150 average loss will keep us on track towards our goal. So we want to keep the loss at the stop out at $150 or less. It tells you what the reward will be in dollars, and then it gives you a risk reward based on the parameters that we'll set up here in a little bit. So to reach our goal, it'll tell us the price that we need to hit to make our $350, and how far we have to go to the stop, how far we have to the next target or exit that we specified. And during the trade, it will tell us what the open shares that are remaining. So if we've closed half the trade, for the shares that are remaining, what's the risk reward currently setting at? And tell us how many shares are open, what cost basis is still open, what the current gain or loss of P&L is, and what this does in terms of this trades as a ratio to our goal. So our goal was to make $350. If we've made $300, that number will be less than 1. If we've made $500, it's going to be more than 1, ratio to goal. And finally, it'll tell us whatever we've decided to manage this account against, in this case the SPY, what the SPY has done during the trade. So that just gives you a chance to come back a year from now and say, well, yeah, I lost 1% on this trade, but look, the SPY was down 1.5% during that trade, so I actually didn't do terrible relative to the market. You can set your plan here, and I don't want to go into this in too much detail tonight. Entries, exits, and stops, as many as you want. You can always add more by right-clicking. Same thing with then moving it to the actual execution of the trade to record that as well. Anytime you trade, or anytime you change prices within the actual trade, so I move my stop, for example, it will automatically record it for you, so that when you come back a year from now, you can see, well, I moved my stop 4 times. Any notes you want to take, any images or other files like a spreadsheet or a PDF. Maybe they put out an earnings release during your trade and you want to attach that. You can attach all those files here, as many as you want. And then finally, you grade your trade, and this can be important to you to come back and see in the longer term. We all have a kind of rose-colored glasses, and in the longer term, you can come back and say, well, on this trade, I did 4 out of 5 is my grade on discipline, and I made these mistakes. I chased at the entry, my stop was too tight, I got scared out early, or I got too greedy and I didn't take profits, or you can enter whatever you want and keep track of those things. And that will allow you to analyze your performance and go back and say, well, how did I do on trades when I chased? Maybe I ended up making money anyway, or maybe I lost money. So those are just things you can look at. And then finally, you can, through the use of emojis, and this was a user's request, you can record your emotions at the time of entry, during the trade, and exit. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but basically you have normal, arrogant, elated, fearful, frustrated, greedy, or angry. And you get to track what your emotions look like during the trade. That's basically it. I wasn't intending to go through trades tonight, so that's just an overview of what it looks like and how it works. Let's go on to the next widget. Don't want to go too much into performance. I have nothing here to basically show you. No trades have been executed in this account, and so there's no data here for me to demonstrate. but basically it will record your performance in blue versus whatever you're trying to measure this account against, in this case the SPY. And then all the trades would be shown down here as well. So you would see, if there were 50 trades, you would see 50 little bars. Some of them will be green, some of them will be red, and those would be your wins and losses, and you can see how they look. It comes with some preset charts. Again, there's no data, so it's impossible for me to really demonstrate. But in addition to the preset reports that we have, you can write your own reports and embed them. So it's very, very detailed as to what you want to break down, what period you want to look at. Yeah, Stu, it is, I'm pretty proud of it. You know, I guess I should be, so I'm biased, but for pretty close to 3 years now, this has been kind of what I eat, sleep, and drink. So it is meant to be end-to-end support for traders, and I think that's what we're achieving here, is giving traders a tool to control their process and improve their process as they go. Account Manager, which we'll get into later, is where you would keep track of all the transactions you made, and this is essentially meant so that you can keep your TraderVision account in sync with your brokerage account, so that, you know, if they charge you a brokerage fee, you can enter that here so that it's in the transactions. If you are connected to your brokerage, have the account connected to the brokerage, we'll talk about that in a moment, you can actually trade from the application. So basically this is where you would set up accounts and review all the transactions of an account. Chart, I don't have anything right offhand. Oh, let's just do Microsoft. Okay, so you have charts, and you can, you know, obviously look at the candles. We have the volume down here, and then there are just a whole bunch of indicators that you can add. It's not as extensive as something. And no, I can't control the market, Dodger, but if I could write that, believe me, I'd be off on an island someplace, and with a margarita in one hand and an umbrella in the other hand, I guess, or something. But you can insert lines, trend lines, if you will, horizontal lines, text boxes, bands if you want to put in various bands, circles, rectangles, Bollinger Bands, RSI, MACD, moving averages, exponential averages, ATR, and Fibonacci's. It can also, if you want, you can move a ticker to a watch list. So you like the chart, move it to my watch list. And then, of course, the last widget is watch list, which is just a, whoops, helps if I spell it right. It just gives you some basic information, and we will make this such that it's more detailed and more customizable. For now, we are in the middle of changing data providers for this fundamental data, and so the data is not quite there as where it wants to be. It will be very soon. Well, thanks for coming, Stu. You drive careful, and I hope Candy's doing good. Roger, not at this time, but that is something that we will get to very soon. You could specify one thing that this is different than something like TC2000. If you want to specify, you know, give me 20,000 days, it will give you 20,000 candles. But at the moment we cannot drill down to hourly. But again, as we get more integrated to brokerages, such as Tradier through TradeHawk and others, we'll have that data available. But there's some hurdles to come over with. So for example, if a broker or if a user does not connect to a brokerage, how can I get them hourly based data? And if I get hourly, then they're going to want, 30-minute or 15-minute or 5-minute. And that the source of the data is the real problem, because coding the candles to be a different time period is no problem at all. It's the source of data that's the issue. And if you're connected to a brokerage, that's not a problem. But if you're not connected to a brokerage, that's a huge problem, because that data costs big bucks, at like $10,000 a month or something for a limited set of tickers. So those are the widgets. And it's pretty straightforward, or at least I think so. Of course, I've been working on it every single day for 3 years. But let's go through and just go through the menu, give you a taste of this. Essentially, the file menu allows you to do a manual backup or a manual restore, and you can specify where you put that backup and what you call it. You can do the manual restore. If you do either of those, you'll get well, let's just do a manual backup. I'm just going to put it with all my other backups. You can see that it started the backup because there are no records in this database. It was started and almost immediately finished, each time giving me a little pop-up. The other thing you can do from the file menu is, this is one of the ways you can quit the application. The other is up here with the X, just like any other Windows application. The view is where you can add a new window. We already showed you that. The widgets are just for opening widgets. Again, they all open in the main window, but then you can drag them to other windows or rearrange them within a window if you want. Doesn't make for a very good demonstration, but it can be very useful depending on how you have your desktop or your multiple monitors organized. Under Tools, you can import trades. So you can import trades from a broker. You can import version 1 database trades. The one thing that I do want to point out is that when you're importing trades from another location, for example, from your broker, all it's going to tell you is the date, time, price, and quantity that was executed. Pretty much that's it. So all of that information we went through on trade log for each trade just won't be available. So you may have to go back and fill all that data in if you want to actually have those trades be useful in analyzing your performance. Options I will come back to. Registration, as you would expect, just gives you your license number, your name and email address, and gives you the ability to deactivate the app if you ever decide you want to move it, for example. So I'm going to reinstall my operating system on my computer, deactivate it, reinstall your operating system, reinstall the software, and you can activate it again. If I want to move it to another computer, deactivate it here, and then go to the other computer and activate it again over there, and then you're set up over on that other computer. The help menu, you can get tutorial videos, the user manual, submit support tickets, and then finally there's the About screen. The About screen can be useful because it tells you the version that you're running, and if you need support, that's something I'll want to know. And that's something else I should mention. We will regularly publish new versions, updates, and you will get a band up here at the top, that a yellow band that says a new version is available and gives you a link. You click that link, it will open your browser and automatically begin the download. Okay, so let's get to options, tools options. This is where you can do a lot of your setup for the application, So for example, this is no style at all, none. You can choose copper, which is another gray, white, if you will, style. And what that does, let's just, okay, here. It changes, for example, the controls up here to more of a Mac type control, where the left dot refers to minimize, the right dot to maximize, and the center dot to maximize, and the right dot is close the application. We do have a slight bug here where we've got a grayed out menu. It's still there, it still operates, but it's not working at this point for this style, and we will fix that. It's on our list. The other style is dark. Some people prefer the black style or dark. And this is what the dark style looks like. This is what the dark style looks like. Some people prefer this. I was asked to use this in a demonstration earlier. You can change the scale. So here's 1.4 scale and apply. I'll wait for the screen to catch up, but hopefully you can see that that got larger. And you can go down as well if you want to go down to like 0.8. Apply and things get very small. I apologize for these delays, but I'm just waiting for the screen to catch up. So I'm going to put this back to 1. The next thing you can set up is you have 3 types of alerts. You have an alert for entries, alert for exits, and alert for stops. And you can have individual sounds. We've got a list of about 20 sounds in there that you can use. I will play one. You will not be able to hear it, but if you listen to the recording tonight, you should be able to hear that. And of course, like I said, you have different sounds for different alerts. Every time an alert is triggered, just like that manual database backup, you'll get a little box here that says for ticker XYZ, price alert, or entry alert, or exit alert, or stop alert has signaled, and of course the sound will go off. Surely right now it's in controlled release mode. Very, very, very soon we will go to full release. We're having some server issues that we've got a contractor working on. We kind of want to get those things worked out before we open the floodgates. Plan and execution. This is the next set of options or settings that you can set up. The first thing is position sizing. And what that is talking about is you have 3 options. You had 2 options in version 1, now you have 3. So you can use the maximum dollar loss to stop that you're willing to risk, difference between the entry price and the stop. So the amount you specified divided by the difference between the entry and the stop. That would give you the maximum risk for the trade. Rick likes to do every position the same size, and if you choose total dollars per position, whatever dollar value you've specified, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, whatever it is, it will take that and divide it by the entry price to recommend how many shares to buy. And then the third way was somebody had asked for a volatility-based position sizing rule. And so we've done that based on the ATR. This is very complicated to explain in a webinar, but the manual has 6 different examples that walk through it. Basically what it does is it takes the average true range, or the normal daily volatility, over whatever period of days you specify. 10 days, 30 days, over whatever period you specify. So that's your average volatility, your average true range. Then you can apply a multiplier. So you can say, well, I'm willing to risk just what the average true range is. That's 1.0. I'm not willing to risk the the full normal volatility, so I'm going to change that to, you know, 0.5, or you can make it larger. Say I'm willing to risk 1.5 times average volatility. And it will use that to then determine the number of shares to recommend that you buy. Again, it depends on how you want to look at position sizing, and the manual describes this in much more detail, but particularly the volatility based one is hard to demonstrate and explain without like 6 different types of examples, because not only is it based on volatility, but then you can also say, I'm based on your multiple, I'm more aggressive, so I'm willing to risk more than the average volatility, or I'm less aggressive, I'm only willing to risk less, you know, less than some percentage of the daily volatility. The last thing on this particular tab is how you want to calculate reward versus risk. And that's basically a perception thing. Again, it's individual to the user. You could say that I always want to look at my reward versus, or my risk versus the reward to the first exit, to the first target that I specify. I do know some traders that say, well, I take my first exit very soon. So I take money off the table very soon, and so that's not really a good measure of the trade, and I want to look at it to the second target, to the second exit, or the third, or you can pick any number. It'll go as high as you want. However you want to look at a trade in terms of how does the reward versus risk of that trade stack up. Do I want to look at it the first target, at the second, at the third, whatever. Or you can choose all. If you choose all, what it will do is, for a trade where you've planned only one target, it will plan the reward to that one target. If you've planned 5 targets, it will plan the risk versus reward based on 5 targets. So again, it depends how you want to look at it. I suggest that most people are going to use all, but one is also a very valid way to look at it. So to my first target, which I typically put right below the first resistance above, what will the reward be to there? That's how I would look at it. But again, it depends on what you want to do. We're getting done here with the setup. So the next tab is backup. One of the features that Trader Vision has now is we have automated daily backups. And you can specify how many you want to keep. It defaults to 30, so there are 30 days worth of backups done automatically. And you specify where you want to put them. They can be any place on your computer. It can be a cloud-based location. So you can put it in your Google Drive or put it in your Microsoft, what's that called? I just lost the word. OneDrive. So you could put it in your Microsoft OneDrive. You could put it or on a file sharing service like ShareFile or like Dropbox. You can put it wherever you want. And as long as if you have an internet-based, a cloud-based storage location specified there, obviously you have to have an internet connection that day in order for that backup to be stored. But in this case, it will store 30 backups. And once it reaches 30 backups that are stored, on the 31st day, it will overwrite the oldest backup. So you always have, in this case, the 30 most recent days worth of backup done automatically, nothing for you to do with those. And the last parts of the options here are basically all going to be brokerage account setup. And they'll all be very much the same. You have a checkbox for enabled or uncheck it to disable it. You have some sort of username or account name that the brokerage gives you, some sort of password that you are given to get in, and then you click the button to check your connection. And that's going to be the same for Tradier. It's going to be the same for pretty much every brokerage. So I know that was a lot and we're going pretty fast, but that is pretty much all of the overall application setup. The last thing that I had planned on touching on tonight, and then we'll take it wherever you want to go, is setting up accounts. So setting up a new account. You do that in Account Manager. Let me open up all of these sections. And I've been through this. This is my second webinar today, so I'm not sure what I've covered earlier. But when you open up Account Manager, the first thing that you will see is what I will call the Account Records screen. And it's divided into 4 pieces. The top piece is all of your records, all of your transactions for this account. The second section is any open orders you have. So for example, if you had placed limit orders to buy or sell, or conditional orders that had not yet triggered, it will show that you have open orders setting with the brokerage. All of your open positions then, that's pretty self-explanatory, all of your open trades. And then down here at the bottom is the transaction details, where you can edit or add new records. So you could edit, for example, let's say that you had planned that on a trade, and I know this is common in Canada, you had planned that your commission was going to be $5 per trade, but when you got the record back from the broker, they actually charged you $5.04 or something like that. You could go in here and edit that to change the commissions. Or perhaps you placed a transaction and you thought you had bought 100 shares, but now that you look at it closer, you ended up buying 200. Well, you can change the quantity here and get that squared away. The other thing that you can do, we talked about this earlier, is you can record things like a brokerage fee or withdrawal or a deposit that you made. Again, the idea is keeping the account balance and the account situation within TraderVision in sync with your brokerage. If you are connected to a broker, you could actually place trades here, simple trades. Now, I would strongly suggest that you do it through TradeLog, because then you have all that other information. But if you wanted to do something fast and dirty, you could do it here, just to place an order, transaction kind, the direction, the ticker, the quantity, the price, and the commission, and hit place order, and it would trade it. Send it to your broker. That's the basic part of the account records. The second thing that you can do is if you click on the gear, this takes you to the details of the account, where you can set up the information like the name of the account, what you consider to be the long-term period, and this is think of this as the long-term trend. What value in days do I want to consider the long-term trend for trades in this account? Is it 50 days? Is it 21 days, which would be a month? Is it 180 days or 360 days if this is a long-term trading account, for example? And then also, what do I consider to be the short-term trend period for this account? Do I consider the short-term trend the last 5 days, the last 3 days? What makes up the short-term trend for this account? And then what do you want to compare this account against? If you trade all large caps, you might compare yourself to the SPY. If you trade all small caps in this account, perhaps you want to measure yourself against the IWM. If this is some sort of day trading account, you might want to, or not day trading, let's say it was, I don't know, an account where you trade just financials, you might, compare yourself to the XLF or something like that. You have the date that the account was opened, the beginning balance. The current balance is calculated based on your trades, so you can't edit that, but it does show it here. You can enter your commissions in terms of dollars per transaction, pennies or dollars per share, and you can put in a commission minimum on this. We will also modify this very soon to take into account the TradeHawk commission structure that we've negotiated. However, there is a way to handle that. Right now you could set these all to 0, and then back on the accounts page you could enter a brokerage fee on a monthly basis of whatever, depending on your level of account. So that could be $19, or it could be $79 or $159, whatever your account level is there. you can specify the shorting costs. So every brokerage charges you a rate for when they loan you the stock, and they also require you to hold some multiple of the value they loan you in your account. You can specify those things here. You can set up the defaults for your account, so each account can have their own defaults. Maybe you have a special account that you just do shorts in. You could specify that. Here's the part that I talked about earlier. Now, when I left the options page earlier, I had left that as based on ATR. So this is saying this dollar value will be divided by the average volatility risk times the multiplier to come up to tell you how many shares to buy. If I had left this as total dollars per position, I can then specify, well, I want all my trades to be, I don't know, $5,000, and go ahead and divide the share price by $5,000 to recommend how many shares to buy. If I specified max dollar loss to stop, I can say, well, this is based on, let's just close this. This is based on $250 is the most I'm willing to risk, and that's based on the difference between the entry price and the stop. In all three of those cases, you can specify that as a dollar value. You can specify that as a percent of your account. So I'm only willing to risk 0.5% of my account down to the stop on any trade. Or you can set it by the goal. So in this case, I've already set my goals. So the maximum loss to my stop that I'm willing to risk comes from my goals, and that's $150. And of course, you can override these things at any time you want. The planned trade duration strictly has to do with shorting costs, and what this does is this tells you that they're going to charge you a loan or charge you interest for loaning you stock. And we've got to estimate what that loan cost will be in order for you to plan whether or not a short trade is worthwhile. Now, if that number's small, if it's at 10 days, for example, there's going to be essentially no loan cost. And so it makes no difference for planning a trade. But if on average, this is a longer term account and I take my shorts and I hold them for half a year, that could be a significant number, and that number could affect whether or not a trade makes sense. So that's what this planned trade duration is for. And the last thing then is this account, this specific account, connected to a brokerage or not? If so, which brokerage and which particular broker account at that brokerage? Pretty straightforward, but pretty detailed as well. And of course, you then can record notes about the particular account if you need notes to differentiate between your accounts. The accounts button here, well, let's finish what else we can do with an account. So in an individual account, you can close it. You can then delete it if you wish. You can save changes that you've made to the record. And that's pretty much it. You can cancel the changes you made. You can go back to the transactions, but then you can also go to the accounts list. This will list all of the accounts in your system and allow you to enter a new one as well. If you click the new button, it will take you back to accounts details so you can fill in all that information for the new account. And then within this accounts list, you can move them up and down within the menu. So I moved account 2 above account 1 now, and so in my drop down menus, test account 2 will show up at the top. Let's just put that back. And that's basically it. That's how you would go about setting up a new account. You would click new, it would come here, you would give it a name, fill out the information we just walked through, and save it. And that's it. So far, we've talked about how to set up the application, how to set up your account. Will the manager autosave, or do you need to click after each session? I'm not sure that I understand. So if you're talking about Well, if you're talking about entering a transaction, um, if you're entering a new one, you have to save it. Um, or if you selected one, you want to delete it, you can delete it. Yeah, but if you add data, when you add it, it's added. So it will be saved for you. The same thing with setting up a new account. If I selected new and I went in there and filled out that data and click save, it will save for you. But if I fill out that data and then I decide, no, that's not quite right, and I just leave, I don't hit cancel, I don't hit save or delete, I just leave, it will not be saved. So only if you're entering a new account, you have to click save. I see some people writing, so I'll hang on here for a moment. Thanks, Joe. So the last thing that I wanted to cover tonight before we get into questions is what's coming up. For the next 3 months or so, depending on how long we need it, I'm doing weekly sessions every Wednesday at 4:15 right here in this room, where I will do whatever users want. I'll go through another section of the program. I will answer questions, whatever we need to do to keep users up and functioning and moving forward. We start that at 4:15, and I try to keep that done before 5 p.m. So that's a pretty bite-sized function. Yeah, Arnaldo, you can check the recording, and it will should walk you through everything. And then on a monthly basis, we'll do another workshop. We may be adding some additional workshops, but for now, let's just say on the fourth Thursday of the month at 8 p.m. Next one being the 22nd of February, we'll be having another workshop in the evenings. And then, as I said earlier, you'll have regular app updates and feature additions as we they will be when I upload that. So it will be in the YouTube channel. I just need to upload that. All that takes time. I've got to render it. I've got to edit it and render it. Then I've got to upload it to the website. I've got to upload it to YouTube and so forth. I will try to do that tonight. No guarantees, but I will try. As I said, in the app, you'll get that yellow band at the top that says there's a new version available. Please always do those. You don't have to do them right that second, but do them on a regular basis. Do not get behind. I've had actual people call me for support who were 6 months behind on doing updates during version 1, and that's just, that's crazy. I can't support 15 different versions that are out there and remember what each one of them had. So you get additional updates and added features here soon. And then we'll be holding some, I'm going to call it WIFM sessions, what's in it for me. Basically, kind of that slide that I went through earlier, but perhaps better examples and more in depth. Doug will probably be presenting those. And those will be coming out soon, and they're to be determined yet. That's what I've had for us to cover this evening. You can always reach me at these 2 email addresses. Again, I'm waiting on that terrible lag. I don't know why I've got a lag like this, because I've got a fast connection and all my other sites are fast. I guess it's an Omnovia thing. But at any rate, you can reach me at either ed@tradervision2020.com or support@tradervision2020.com. And of course, you can add, through the application, you click support ticket, and essentially it sends that email to this address. So that's what I had for this evening. Are there any questions or any place else you guys want to go and talk about the application? Thanks, Art. Yeah, I think so. It's a tremendous tool, in my opinion, for reinforcing discipline, helping you focus on improving your process and taking better trades, actually thinking about the reward to risk, doing a better job of planning your trade and trading your plan. And then that final piece, which with no trades in my database at this point, I can't really demonstrate, but that final piece, Bob, very, very soon. We are in what I call, or what Rick called a soft rollout now. So we've got a dozen or so people out there, and we'll be releasing it to the general public as soon as we are able to get a couple server level issues worked out, and so that's going to be extremely soon. A lot of fun things coming down the road. I just hired another programmer, and I've set them to work on a full scanning version, which kind of fills in the piece that I think is a little bit missing at this point, which is helping you select trades. And it will come in a couple different flavors. It'll be preset scans, just like TC2000. They do an excellent job with their scanning. It's very intuitive, where you can scan based on pre-made or preset scans, or you can also write your own scans if that's what you prefer to do. It's kind of a big task, but I've set him on working on that, and that will be a feature set that we release sometime, let's say in a quarter or so. And then, of course, the options version will be worked on here soon. Yeah, Arnaldo, thank you. And I will, yeah, that's the options version is, kind of complex subject. You know that if you trade options, you can buy and sell, and you can, buy puts and calls. So it's, there's a whole nother layer of complexity there, particularly with the Greeks, but it's coming. We'll get there. I've got it roughed out on my design specs, but there's that whole piece of the links to the pages. I don't have that handy, but I can do this. If this is what you mean, the tutorials page, I can do that. And go back and so the user manual. I don't want to post the links to the purchase yet, because we're kind of in soft rollout, but nonetheless, you can send me email or submit a support ticket there, so that will help. If that's what you meant, that's kind of as far as I want to go. So this tutorials page is going to be very useful to you. I'll put this workshop here as well, on YouTube as well. The tutorial videos are being posted here as I record them, get them edited. Pretty much everything will be available through this page, and this will soon be available under Trader Vision from the menu as well. Right now that's version 1, but I'll get that changed over to have version 2 information there as well. Well, thank you, sir. We're getting there. It's taken longer than I wanted, that's for sure, but we're getting there, and I'm pretty proud of the product. And we've got a whole slew of features that will be added that are not currently there, but yeah, Rome was not built in a day. And that's certainly true of this. So. Okay, guys, if there are no other questions, we'll get this closed out and call it right in an hour. I see a couple people typing, so I'll hold on. Okay, well, thanks so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. Again, thanks for coming to the January user workshop. Remember, every Wednesday, 4:15 p.m. for the next few months at least, longer if needed. I'll be holding short, 45 minutes or less sessions, Q&A, walk through pieces of the program and so forth.